hallucinogenic compound in ayahuasca is DMT. So the thing about DMT is you can't ingest it because it just breaks down in your stomach acid. That's why most people smoke it, right? But what the ancient Peruvians, or well, most likely the Amazonians, the
Although
tribes
the
of,
Amazonians tended to snort it rather than smoke it.
well, so the actual ayahuasca brew we think comes from an Amazonian culture that was brought to the Peruvians is where the anthropology has led fairly recently in the last like 10, 15 years. Anyways, so they mix the acacia plant with another plant that I can't remember the name of, which has another compound in it that actually neutralizes the stomach acid and allows your body to actually digest the DMT through your stomach, which then releases it more slowly through the bloodstream, giving you a longer, more intense experience. Because when you smoke DMT, it's very, very fast, like 10, maybe 15 minutes tops. It feels like
And Rudyard actually had the brew.
yeah, and it feels like an eternity. I will say that.
He says because he has photographic memory, he had 90 minutes of conversations with God and the devil that he remembers.
Does he actually have photographic
but
memory?
hold on,
Memory?
let me get to my point though. So the thing specifically with any form of DMT consumption, whether it's vaping, smoking, ayahuasca, they have another brew down there that they use too that I don't remember the name of. Or they actually have this new thing that's I'm actually really curious about. I kind of want to do where they found a way to give you an intravenous drip of pure DMT, and they can keep you in that realm for up to an hour, and they've been doing like experiments on people. And
I mean, Alex Jones already talked about that.
Well, yes. But anyways, so the interesting thing about DMT specifically for people that take it the proper way, I should say, is almost everyone sees and experiences almost the exact same thing.
Yes, but not everybody experiences the exact same thing. There are people who have divergent experiences.
Well, I should say, like, there's a list of like things you could experience depending on a lot of things, your state of mind, how much you take, what your intention is before you take DMT. A lot of people talk about that. But so the fact that he's saying he specifically saw Odin.
No. Odin came after the DMT experience.
Or the ayahuasca, whatever.
After the ayahuasca experience. Odin came like a year or two after.
Oh, I thought you said he saw Odin when he was on ayahuasca.
No. He saw God. And he said that you can't actually see God because he's just so powerful. The way he described God is very Kabbalistic. But he said he could perceive God's thoughts like there were clouds in the sky.
Okay, but what did he say he saw with it, though?
Just an energy like two bright stars crashing into each other.
Okay. So my entire argument doesn't even is totally null and void because I totally misunderstood what you said.
Well, no. This is a separate hallucination he had. This is a separate hallucination he had, or vision.
Well, that was my issue. Well, my issue with him saying he saw Odin is I thought you said he saw Odin while on ayahuasca, and that didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, he also saw the devil on ayahuasca.
That's a mind state thing, and like what you do going into it. And I'd be interested to see how he went about.
Wait.
Being administered the ayahuasca.
He was given 7 shots over a time frame that was managed by an elder of this tribe in Peru.
Okay.
The The thing is,
7
yes,
shots
this
is a lot, though.
Well,
Yeah, no, that's something I've been reading online.
Yeah,
I just want to say that
that's a lot.
this is a hallucination. You are in fact at the Gospel of Comics. Hello,
Welcome
everyone.
everybody to the Gospel of Comics. I am your trusty co-host, Ayrton McCartney. Church is not with us today, but
And we're opening.
Karasoth and Rune. How you guys doing?
Good. We're opening talking about internet personality. What if Altist? He had a video that he deleted. It was a 10-hour long video where he talked about all of his profound life trauma.
Was that thing you linked that I didn't click on?
Yeah, that was
Yes.
that was that.
Okay.
I'm a mystic, guys.
Yeah. No. He posted something that said, "Oh, and I looked at it and say, "Oh, so you're Rosicrucian and you're just showing your power level to everybody." Okay, and then he said, "Oh no, ha ha ha, just kidding, everybody." And this video, I'm not done.
How in the past month
just-
have we come across 2 people claiming to be part of a secret organization?
It's just me.
Well, no.
It's just me.
He actually. Here's the thing. So he came to the knowledge of the Hermetics and the Rosicrucians during his DMT experience with ayahuasca.
Okay.
These were the things God revealed to him.
Okay. And what did he say the Hermetics were exactly?
Well, the Hermetic philosophers. They were a type of occultists.
I know. But what did he say that the
Give me a
information
second.
he was given?
Give me a second. He didn't go into that much detail in the video because he was cock teasing everybody with him talking about being raped by his mom and having an abusive relationship with both of his parents.
That sound you just heard was
That's-
our demonetization. Oh wait, we're not monetized. Fuck it.
What? Talk about a segue in a video. You revealed Hermetic secrets on ayahuasca, and then you got raped by your parents?
Well, no. He got raped by his parents, which is why he went to take ayahuasca.
Well, no, I'm saying like in the narrative. Like that's quite a segue to go between the two of those.
Well, what I was discussing with Rune is this is a very... He needed a better editor as he was, sharing his life journey with people.
Mm-hmm.
We want to believe he's heartfelt, but we don't think he made good decisions, and he realized he didn't make good decisions.
Yes, what he posted to Twitter and later deleted. Let me scroll down here. Hi, everyone. I had to tell some folks something. I'm quite advanced mystic and capable of communicating with the spirit world. If you wonder why I know so much and am so successful at the age of 23, this is part of the reason. I have a photographic memory, and I've used this to have hundreds of hours of communication. Should have said communion. I think communion would have been better.
Yeah.
With different spiritual forces, whether God, the devil, Mother Nature, Hermes Trismegistus, the anima, and many more. I have a pretty good map of the spirit world, Lord God, and the Tree of Life, which is the spirit of consciousness connected to you by blood through evolution, are forcing me against my own consent to intervene in the game now. I really, really did not want to do this, but God forced my hand. I did this since I was concerned we'd all fucking die as a society if I didn't. I'm young enough, I'm invested. So basically, during his ayahuasca...
Hold on. Hold on. And yes, I'm going to go off brand here, Rune. Sorry. So this guy has read way too much Gnosticism and New Age philosophy, and then
hold up. We've not unpacked everything.
Wait a minute, I'm confused. How is this off-brand, Ayrton? Every so often you reveal that there's an intelligent human being under the memes and bullshit.
So
you're the one that gave me shit for going off-brand last show. That's all.
So he said during his ayahuasca experience, God told him he was going to start a religion, and his religion was going to save his people.
Okay.
He also said that when he was being raped and molested and abused by his parents, God told him this.
Okay. All right.
So, it's not that he's like read the wrong shit about Gnostic stuff. No. These are unrelated threads because he said as a young man, his parents educated him so he could see the Jungian archetypes active and moving in the world. So that's why when he's talking about seeing the anima, he's talking about perceiving the spiritual reality of the anima as Jung experienced it.
Okay. So uh there
Aaron,
Look,
Aaron,
yeah.
I haven't even gotten to the good part.
Look, I just
So
have,
his mom, who raped him, was
Uh-huh.
schizophrenic.
Okay.
His father is an autistic hermit who lives in the woods, who has a month of food and water and other preps.
Okay.
His grandfather was a radical conservative Catholic who started his life as an adult as an FDR voter, and his last election he voted for Trump.
Okay.
He also detailed during the parts of the video that I have watched that he is extremely empathic, and he can sort of perceive the bad spiritual emotional energy that's inherent in the place.
Ayrton, I gotta say, you sound way more damaged by all this than I do.
No, I'm trying to follow it. Is my issue.
The problem is the narrative isn't constructed in a way that makes it easy to follow unless you've been into those sorts of weird spaces.
I have frequently, and this still doesn't make sense. It's like, have you seen that image of like where they give spiders different drugs and then they build a web and the webs get all fucky and shit? That's what this narrative sounds like.
He also grew up, and his mom talked to God and to Jesus and to the devil and to the saints and talked to the Native American spirits of the land. The Native American spirits of the land complained they weren't receiving the proper offerings by the white people. But they didn't mind the white people conquered the land, but they demanded respect from the white people, and that the proper offerings were made.
Okay, so I was right. Gnosticism mixed with modern day.
No. That's what his mom. That's what his mom and her
Yeah.
schizophrenic voices were telling her.
Yeah. And that's what influenced him as a kid. So when he went into his trip, that influenced what he perceived.
Yes, that was an element of it, certainly. That was certainly an element of it. His dad,
because like I said off air, like when you're going in, or maybe I said this on air, when you're going into an experience like that, you need to go in with a certain intent.
But also, his dad and his grandfather were both believers in Celtic blood memories.
I mean, yeah, no, I that there's some evidence that could suggest that there is genetic memories passed on through species.
This is the trippiest episode.
I can get behind that. That's the least crazy thing that you've uttered talking about this guy.
Like, for example, he talked about during one of the periods in which his mother was raping him, that he, in his fevered thoughts, imagined how he would kill his mother, and he later found it was similar to the way that Irish bondmen or Irish indentured servants would slit their masters' throats.
And then wear their skin as a coat?
In real life.
Yeah.
Look, see my vest made of real gorilla chest.
So I'm currently going into the video. We haven't gotten to the point yet where he talks about what God wanted him to tell people.
Is this guy the new Terry A. Davis?
No.
No? Okay.
He's like, what if we put Terry A. Davis and Jordan Peterson in a blender?
Sounds like a fucking nightmare.
And he's 23.
That sounds like my personal hell.
And he's 23.
This guy's not. Well, he's going places. Not anywhere good, but he's going.
And Aaron, do you know this obscure anarchist figure, Kurt Doolittle?
I don't think so.
Kurt Doolittle is a weird ANCAP who's who's in an oddball space. Kurt Doolittle was one of his mentors, and when I, through various ANCAP related social spheres, heard that, several people who were like going, some of us like him, some of us don't. Some of us say, well, the kid's got some interesting ideas. We all heard he was friends with Kurt Doolittle, and we're like going, oh, that's so unfortunate. I mean, it could be another Kurt Doolittle, but it's not. We all know it's not. So he deleted this because, sure, he promised God in a hallucination he was going to start a religion, but I mean, he kind of freaked out because he's got YouTube bills to pay. It's just such a odd experience so far. This video, because he talked about PTSD and how PTSD and triggering make him angry. Because the people on the left who use trigger warnings don't understand what a PTSD trigger actually is and what it actually elicits, and how you get better with PTSD triggers if you actually encounter these things and slowly acclimate yourself to them under therapeutic guidance.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah.
That is actually a thing that bothers the shit out of me too. We're gonna talk about something that's not this crazy guy for a minute. So, as you know, I'm a big fan of Werewolf Forsaken. World of Darkness is my jam. We should really go back to it someday if we're not going to actually play Power Rangers or something else. We keep talking about it, then not doing it. Much like this tabletop game stream we keep talking about, where we're gonna play board games. But one of the things I do not like about Forsaken 2nd Edition is that when werewolves enter Death Rage, rather than just saying, calling it Death Rage, and it's just a state of, if something bad happens, you have to risk to get angry. It's instead that you have sets of triggers, right? Mm-hmm. So you're literally getting triggered and death raging out, and these are your, though they do not use the terminology in book, these are your trigger warnings about what's going to trigger you. And mechanically it's a good system. In application of description, it is the biggest bunch of ass.
But I wanted to segue from this into something related because
well, hold on.
Ayrton still needs to understand. He still needs to comprehend this.
Okay, so you said that he was told by God during one of his, or during what it was his ayahuasca.
Both during his ayahuasca experience and while being raped by his mother.
Okay, but the rape part, whatever, sure. I'll accept that one's a thing, but so.
Now here's the other. Let me give you some icing on that one. Okay. He had a religion class teacher in school who said, "Rudyard, you should just found a religion. That's the kind of job that you'll be most happy
with." I doubt that. But okay. So before I did DMT for the first time, was that like 2 years ago now? Something like that. I did nearly a decade of research and reading and stuff like that because it's I don't do stuff like that lightly, right? Like I didn't take an allergy pill for the first time until like 5 years ago.
What are you trying to get the Hat Man to show up?
No, I just had really bad allergies, and I was like, okay, and did a bunch of reading for like 3 days on various side effects and how it affects the body and stuff like that. Anyways, so and I say this just so anyone listening understands that I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to this, even though I'm not like a drug person.
You're not a brainman like Larry and I are.
Well, no, I'm not I don't casually just do drugs, right? Like I want to make sure I know exactly what I'm doing. So with powerful hallucinogenic psilocybin, DMT, and anything like that specifically.
Mhm.
I can't think of besides like crazy people that end up becoming like a cult leader. Outside of that, no one's ever told you need to start a religion. Typically what happens
No. Not to
oh,
start a religion. He needs to start a religion to save his people.
okay, whatever.
It's an extra level of crazy.
Sure. I'm giving it the base. I'm giving him the base level of crazy. How's that? Just I'm being charitable in his level of crazy. So typically what happens when you do something like this, and again, it depends on how you're administering it. If you're with a shaman who's guiding you through it or whatever, typically you get taken into this realm, and I use the word for lack of a better word.
Yes.
And you are either shown or told information and or a message about yourself, right? So again, I'm still not 100% comfortable talking publicly about what I was shown and told during my trip, but it's usually something like let's say a very common one is people who have a very short temper, or or like a very like I guess sharp tongue, if you will, are typically shown that is an issue that they need to work on, right? So like if you're very quick to like shooting back at somebody, especially people that like you care about, that's typically something that's like inherently focused on during the trip from the I'm going to say entities. I'm just going to use the common terminology. Stuff like that is typically what you're shown. It's a
well, I didn't even get.
It's a very personal
even,
journey sort of experience. It's never some grandiose like ego inducing thing. It's always something to make you look at yourself and kind of examine who you are.
I haven't even gotten into the most grandiose parts of this either.
Oh God.
You're just at the gateway to the grandiose parts of this story.
God. I want to know what shaman let him do this.
Oh.
That shaman needs to be fired. That's
so anyway. God sent him into hell with the devil 7 times because he had to fight a generational blood curse.
Except the devil isn't in hell yet, but go on.
Well, no. I understand what you're saying. I'm just letting you know this is what he was talking about as part of his experience. I haven't gotten all the way to the video where he talks about what God had to tell him yet, because he was cock teasing the whole way. Also, God led him into the Hall of Eternity, where souls come from, and so he could see different civilizations that have entered this point in their spiritual development.
Okay.
And God also talked to him about how we've reached a certain level of spiritual development because of computers and the internet that exceeded our capacity to understand, to grow, and to learn. That we experience with books.
He's putting his message on a computer and the internet.
Well, no. God is saying that's good.
Oh.
That basically the computer and the internet allows our brains to do things that books couldn't let us do.
Watch porn?
I mean, obviously. But funny story about that. During his gap year, he worked as an archaeology intern. His job was to categorize different parts of ancient Peruvian porn.
So Ayrton, I believe I have found a picture of the shaman that this gentleman used.
No. It is more reputable than that. Now there's some mundane things. His father was extremely autistic, and by
Yeah.
extremely autistic, I mean he memorized train schedules from the late 19th and early 20th century
Okay.
as a hobby.
Well, that's because Sonic wasn't invented yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was in banking, so he knew the history of the 20 largest banks in every major U.S. city.
Okay.
Like from their founding to the current day. And in addition to his autism, he ate tuna fish sandwiches for lunch every day because he'd save 50 cents.
I mean,
This
I eat tuna and crackers a lot.
Right, but do you know why you shouldn't eat a tuna fish sandwich every day?
Well, the mercury in the
Yes.
tuna.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to
Yes.
point out I said the exact same thing when asked this exact same question.
Yes. And so he talked about sounded like about 5 years his father was suffering from debilitating mercury poisoning. And he had to spend at least 2 years as a vegan to work all the mercury out of his system.
There's easier ways to do that, but all right.
Well, the easier ways to do that didn't work.
Are you sure he just ate tuna though?
Yes. Now, here's the thing though.
Because
He also-
how much tuna would you have to eat to get that much mercury poisoning?
I mean, Neil Breed ate tuna for every meal.
Well, Neil Breen's a whole different kind of crazy.
Let's just immerse ourselves in the knowledge for the moment that this guy's ultimate problem is he had breakfast today.
Yes. Now,
and it was tuna.
he also, when he went into details about his mother's abuse of him, he accused his mother in one of the vignettes of poisoning him. His mother accused his father of poisoning her, so it's possible it might not just have been the tuna that had all the mercury in it.
So how likely is it that you can pass on schizophrenia and autism genetically?
Schizophrenia, very possible.
Okay, that's what I thought.
All right, so here's the thing about that. I just want to throw this out there. I'm going to use the term, it's a spectrum. You can inherit schizophrenia, but you will not get necessarily the same severity, nor will you necessarily have the same learned behaviors. You could have a schizophrenic parent and be halfway put together.
Also, you could develop schizophrenic features without being schizophrenic by being raised by a schizophrenic parent. You can also go through a period where you have schizophrenic features when you're going through periods of profound abuse.
Now, having said all that, I want to point out we have been talking about this guy and his crazy for a half hour. We should move on to the next
Larry.
subject.
Larry should have known better. He would have known that he should have known that I would do this.
Well, no. This is actually good content because we're having a good spirited discussion.
No, I get that, but people came. The theory that people watch this for us to talk about comics and media,
and
not this guy's ayahuasca adventures.
Well, no, this guy is a noted commentator on geopolitics and on anthropology on YouTube, and he's a YouTube smart boy.
And we gave it a half hour. We should absolutely move on to another subject.
Damn it, Larry! You're gonna make me watch his anthropology videos now, aren't you? And criticize them.
Well, no, because here's the thing. He's doing it in the same way Jordan Peterson is.
You're gonna make it. So now I have to do it.
It's not as good as Jordan Peterson's videos from his Harvard teaching days.
I propose that we now change this man's name. He is now Ayahuasca Peterson.
But the segue is I watched the latest episode of The Digital Circus. Do you remember The Digital Circus when I talked about it when The
Yes,
show first came out and had its first 3 episodes?
Yes, I remember not
No,
Has
but
Been
it sounds
Hotel.
like a good time for me to go take a piss break.
It absolutely is.
It's actually very different than Has Been Hotel.
No. The only reason I say that is because Has Been made it big, though it had not yet been picked up by Amazon. And then the Digital Circus came out, and I have always felt that the two properties, though distinct and different, are low key competing for the same eyeballs.
No, they're not.
I kind
Not
of
even
get the feeling.
close.
I get the feeling they are. I think they're all struggling to be recognized
Well,
as media in the YouTube sphere. I don't think the Digital Circus got picked up. I think the Digital Circus is still going to be a niche product.
well, it's going to be a niche product, but it's not the same kind of eyeballs as Has Been Hotel. Because first of all, homosexuality is an essential theme of the show.
Thank fucking God.
Also, what if God is evil and the devil is good is not a theme of the show.
That's not even a theme of Has Been, but the people
It
making
is.
it are.
No, it absolutely
we're not.
is.
No, we're not going to get into that particular conversation because that will eat up the rest of the show. But
I
will
mean,
say,
Vizzy Pop says that's a theme of the show.
the people
Damn it, we're still
making
talking
Has
about this.
Been do not know what the fuck they're doing, and it shows.
Yeah. So anyway, the Digital Circus. It's about a person who puts on a virtual reality headset and gets trapped in a digital circus with a mad AI that has everybody going on adventures. We have various characters. We got Zubul, who's an irritable person with mix and
Sorry.
match.
Real quick, are either of you familiar with the band Thrice?
No.
No.
Okay. They they have an album series, I guess. It's like 4 like half albums that came out in 2008, 2007. It's called Alchemy Index. So you have earth, water, fire, air. But anyways, on the water album, there's a song called Digital Sea that's very good that I'm now thinking of.
So, various people who are all going through mental collapses as they are all trapped inside a AI simulation. So, the first episode was just establishing everything. Second episode, character went off on the first mission, and she discovered that the NPCs are able to briefly be aware that they're NPCs and have existential angst about that. On her third mission, she went to hell, talked to the devil, and the character who is actually crazy, kind of bonkers and demented, regained his sanity and helped her go through hell. This episode was a special episode. Everybody was complaining they didn't want to go on adventures, and one of the characters who goes on none of the adventures said, "Why don't you take something from the suggestion box?" And it's like, what? Yeah, take something from the suggestion box for an adventure. And the adventure they went on was working a full 24-hour shift at a fast food restaurant. So it was an episode about the existential angst of working a low-wage job in a fast food restaurant. It was the character who's normally the intelligent teen mom character got stupid sauce in the face and became retarded. The person who has struggles with depression was given a mask that made them artificially cheerful. But the artificial cheerfulness didn't hide the depression that was hiding on the inside. And when she left her shift at the fast food place, she threw herself in front of the boss. And all of the characters were given a B- for their performance. And the person with the lowest performance was supposed to get a punishment. So since they all got the same thing, they're all going to get punished. I thought it was kind of neat. And our audience viewpoint character found one of the NPCs that had previously showed self-awareness, and that she wasn't able to get them to engage in their self-awareness again. So she felt sad. It was a good little bit of entertainment. I continue to recommend watching The Digital Circus. It's a good show. It pretends to be an LOL so random kind of show, but it uses that to hide existential angst and eldritch horror. It's good times all.
I mean, that was the nature of my has-been comparison, is the dependence on that specific kind of humor, hence attracting that specific kind of audience.
But
to
Has Been
clar-
Hotel doesn't use that humor.
Right, and to clarify, now that you've solidified the differential, I was actually in a conversation just last night, and it's not just a small sample size. I think it's indicative. Has-Been's dying. It's dying on the vine, and Hello Boss is going to go with it. They do not have staying power expressly because they do not use their tools well.
Well, I
And
think
frankly,
the visionary.
it's specifically because Visipop indulges her fans, who are a bunch of mouth-sucking yes men. It's awful.
I don't think that's her problem.
No. At least part of it is her ego is boosted up by having her fans be really into everything stupid that somebody else says.
Here's the thing. I think she had a couple of good ideas for both of these story worlds. They're the same story world, but these two different projects. And she's out of gas, so she's just taking what fans are saying, yeah, that's cool, I'll do this.
Well, what I'm specifically getting at, because this was the conversation when it came up last night with some peers, is I could consume the content if they would just dial back fractionally on not specifically any of the sexual content as a concept. I'm not afraid of tits. I'm not afraid of dick, right?
You're not afraid of cartoon sex.
Right. But would specifically downplay the I am this thing tokenism that they desperately need to sell their product. They've taken characters that are interesting and made them unlikable because of their constant whinging about I'm Arrow Ace, I'm alt lifestyle, I am this, I'm in a toxic relationship. It's like, shut the fuck up. If it's not in the show, I don't care.
I'm an asparagus and Mercury's and Gatorade.
That's actually stuff that Amazon wants them to add in.
Right, but it was there before. Amazon's just saying emphasize.
No, I'm saying it was barely there before. Amazon is saying because of our research.
No. It was there before because while they were just had a pilot on YouTube, and Visipop was just doing drawings on her Twitter, that thing she keeps saying she's gonna leave and then doesn't. Her fan base kept saying, I like this and I like that, and the voice actors would say, well, I like this and I like that, and this is my thing. And that's what led Amazon to pick them up, because of the vigorous fan base. They said, oh, there's money to be made here. Okay, and it is the fan base that has basically hijacked the property, because what Visipop did is she made the mistake that many young creators do. They sold their baby off and then realized they have no creative control over the baby once they sell it.
Well, let me back this up. So the fan base said stuff. That's true. What I'm saying is the things the fan base said, Amazon has computers that do dark arts and black magic with AI to talk about how they can monetize those different ideas and how they want to create narratives that maximize the amount
of... the same kind of black arts and magic that our homeboy was talking about?
Yes. Unambiguously, yes. So that's the thing. Like Netflix is making a lot of their choices for shows and movies that they're developing based off of AI. Well, yes. AI is saying, based on these trends that we see here in our data pile, we need a show with this kind of protagonist, this kind of secondary protagonist, this kind of antagonist.
See,
And it
Yeah,
needs to be in this genre.
Are you sure though?
Yes,
Because
Netflix has admitted to that.
well,
here's-
hold on. If they're actually using AI to like assess the data points, wouldn't it tell them not to do it?
No, AI is telling them to do it. And all the things AI has told them to do that with have been successful.
Like what?
There's various made for Netflix movies. 5 of the top 10 were all made as AI sludge.
Give me a title, because
You remember that Jennifer Lopez robot movie I told you about that was dumb and I hated?
no.
Well, there was a Jennifer Lopez robot movie that was dumb and I hated it.
all right. So an important clarification, Ayrton, that I think will help you with the thing. They're not making films that are going to be successful, or they're not making content that's going to be successful in the long term. The AI is telling them how to make shortfall money.
Right. So that one was like the number 5 movie for the year or something like that. Or maybe number 7. It was really dumb. Shang-Chi was the leader of the Robot Rebellion. And somehow in 30 years, humanity developed faster than light travel, but was still fighting war with robots. When you just send relativistic kill missiles to kill the robots, you don't need to send men in mech suits. That's really weird. Even though mech suits are cool.
Wait, if you have
Yeah,
faster than light travel, couldn't you just send a faster than light missile to plow into the?
Well,
That's a relativistic kill missile.
Okay.
well, that's the thing, is the language immediately goes to, when you ask why would you do this, because it's cool. Don't ask questions, just consume product.
Exactly.
This is why I did not watch Pacific Rim. Is not only have I seen this movie before, albeit not with 2 guys in the mech, but they never answered to me, to my level of appreciable understanding. Why would you need giant mechs to fight the giant monsters? Why wouldn't you just kill the giant monsters with the same conventional weaponry?
It didn't work.
But why though?
Because the monsters, the first time they tried it, it destroyed the city that they did it in. And
Right,
then the second time they tried it, the monsters had already developed countermeasures.
But why though?
Because the aliens that made the monsters developed the countermeasures.
But why though?
Because the aliens were using the monsters to purge off human life so that they could take over Earth and colonize it.
I'm not being a pedant, but I will keep saying, but why though? Until you come to an answer that is actually qualitative, because so far, the actual progression seems to be, we used conventional arms and they didn't work. So we used other conventional arms that did work. So the aliens made their monsters immune to conventional arms and thus violated physics. So giant robots, which doesn't actually change the dynamic. It just looks better in a film.
Now,
And if your answer is ultimately to make a film happen, Joe, that's not a good movie. That's called lazy writing.
now,
Sorry, I totally zoned out and started looking at pictures of cool custom motorcycles on Twitter.
I mean, why are you not looking at pictures of porn? That's a much better use of your time.
Now,
this is basically my porn, Rune.
Now, Rune, in ancillary material, it later turns out the giant robots are an early stage of evolution for the giant kaiju.
Right.
Come on. If Larry pulls this picture up, you'll see what I mean.
So one, that's retarded, and two, I will say again, if it's not in your work, if it's not in the primary piece, I don't care.
It's hinted at in the sequel.
Hinted at my dick. If it's not there, it doesn't matter because it didn't happen.
I agree.
I mind you, I'm not saying I dislike expanded universes and lore. Those things can be fun. What I'm saying is that if this is your introductory material, you need to be razor focused. You need to be exact as to why this shit went down, and it needs to make sense.
Now, all of this stuff, All this stuff happened after Guillermo del Toro was axed from the project.
Right, now see, that makes sense.
Because Guillermo del Toro didn't focus on, but why though, for the first movie? Because he said, listen, I just want a movie where people punch kaiju with giant robots.
Right, because the actual answer, if you're going to do this well, is you don't do a but why though. You just say, we made giant robots to fight giant monsters. And when they say, why did we have to make giant robots to fight giant monsters? The answer should be, because robots are cool.
Well, I mean, the giant robot pilots became celebrities.
But why though?
Because they were saving humanity from the kaiju.
But why though? No, again, the issue is not giant robots are cool, therefore, I'm not happy, right? It's, why did it have to be two guys in the machine?
Because one single human brain couldn't control the robot.
But why though? And how is that better than a tank?
I mean, we all know, because of the laws of physics, a giant robot is not better than a tank.
Right. The answer needs to be more coherent than that. When it's like,
also, the computer system that runs the giant robots is based off of the brains of the kaiju.
Look, I'm gonna rewrite this movie. I'm gonna make it genius, Larry. Do you know what the answer is?
Huh.
We fought the first generation of kaiju with conventional weapons and defeated them. And we then took the kaiju, studied them, and built our giant robot suits. And this is the second generation that has been waiting for the aliens to return, because we're going to take the fight back to them. And we're going to do it with the power of teamwork. And that's why you need two brains in the robot to make it work. That's all you need to say. That's all you need to fucking say.
I mean, that is the teamwork thing. That is what ends up being the thematic through line. But they didn't really.
Was this a fucking Captain Planet episode? What the fuck are we talking about? Skill issue defeating a fucking kaiju with a giant mech robot. What the fuck?
Look. Movies are propaganda. And coming together.
And everybody wonders why I don't watch movies. While the movies I watch are the stupidest shit I can find. This is why. This is fucking retarded.
All
God
movies
damn
are
it.
propaganda.
Shut the fuck up.
All movies are propaganda.
God damn it.
Like Hollywood.
Give me a dude who creates a cream that makes things large and somebody uses it as lube and his dick falls off and turns into a giant shark and eats people. Tell me, Larry, how is that fucking propaganda? Somebody's turning into a shark and killing people.
That's not a Hollywood movie. Hollywood movies are propaganda.
You didn't say Hollywood. You said all movies are propaganda.
Okay.
Tell me how.
Guys,
I don't count those. I don't count those.
Guys, two things. One, that is propaganda because that's a film as pornography telling you pornography is wrong. So you need to adopt those pure Christian values. Save it till marriage.
No, actually, the point of the film is not to fuck with things that you don't know what they are.
Right, but
that's also propaganda.
But having said that, I want to take a step back and say I love this. And what I'm referring to is the idea that we went from this is a reasonable conversation to shut the fuck up, Larry. It's like, wow, okay.
No, I was saying shut the fuck up about the movie thing, but
yeah.
No, but okay. How about Attack of the Killer Tomatoes? How is that movie propaganda?
It's satire of the military in the fight against communism.
It is also a narrative about mad science and knowing how not to do science.
Have you watched the fourth one, Killer Tomatoes Eat France?
It is in fact anti-intellectual.
I mean, I have not watched that, no.
Okay.
I didn't even know there was a fourth one. I thought they stopped at 2.
No, there's 4.
I knew there was a third one.
Oh, hey! Something actually here at the 10 to the hour. An actual thing of interest for everybody. Next year is the 40th anniversary of Reanimator, and it's getting a 4K re-release. So if you love you some Jeffrey Combs.
No, but yeah, there's 4 Killer Tomatoes movies, a cartoon in the 90s, and a Game Boy video game.
I remember the cartoon in the 90s, and I think the third movie came out just before the cartoon or just after?
Just before, I think.
Yeah.
Because
But
I think the third movie came out in like 90 or like 89 or like 92 or something like that.
yeah. But back to the point of Pacific Rim, it's both in line with the propaganda for American movies. It's also in line with the propaganda for Chinese movies. So a lot of the movies made during the 2000s to 2020 featured a lot of themes of propaganda that benefited the political agenda of the PRC.
I'm with you guys for a second.
And Hollywood spent a lot of time creating and generating those narratives.
Sorry, Larry. I have some breaking news. I found a video of the gentleman we were talking about at the beginning of the show.
The What If Altus guy?
Yeah.
That's not his picture, though.
Are you sure?
Yeah. But no.
Anyways,
and I'm going to talk about a comic now.
Well,
so
before we jump into that, can I just mention something interesting, comic related? I actually saw a post the other night of a guy, I want to say Phoenix Press, claiming that the early 2000s was peak comics.
No.
And we got some of our best comics. And I had a mental schism because my brain went, well, there are some good comics from that era.
You mean
but then
you had an aneurysm?
But then my brain went, no, that can't have been peak comics because many of the problems we have now in comics came out of the early 2000s.
I mean, you could make the argument that all the problems we have with comics now is the fact that comics were ever invented in the first place, so you could trace that back to the early 20th century.
Well, no, I actually, if we put it aside, if we're reasonable, I think that the actual problem started with the comics crash in the 90s, and then the rise of Joey Q. The Marvel Knights into mainstream Marvel, into fuck your canon, we know better than history.
No,
and also
what about, could you make the argument that taking down the Comics Code Authority led us to where we are in comic books today?
I could. I've made that argument before. I also believe taking down the Comics Code Authority was still the right thing to do.
Well, yeah, because fuck the government, but...
I mean, fuck the government, but also fuck that little worm in his book of lies. Seduction of the Innocent was horrible.
Speaking of fuck the government, can we like have a round of applause for the fact that Jimmy Carter just died?
I don't celebrate people dying generally.
He's not a person. He's a politician. It doesn't count.
So here's an interesting permutation, and then I don't want to segue too far because I do want to let Larry talk about comic stuff that's probably more interesting. But this subject, the history of comics, is part of the reason why I cannot fully agree with Razorfist on his well-researched argument that the Senate subcommittees on un-American activities were always about actually getting communists. I'm not saying that there wasn't a communist fifth column. I'm not saying that the commies weren't trying to spread their propaganda and were very effective at it. But Seduction of the Innocent, the Moral Panic, and the destruction of early comics, championed and fought by EC Comics and Gaines until he just said, fuck it, I'm going to go make Mad Magazine and not care, was all like a very damaging thing to the comics industry for decades.
It's a very convoluted knot that's hard to untie.
It is. It's very much a thing of there were some real problems to go after, but that doesn't mean that everyone involved was an honest actor trying to deal with them. Some people were trying to push their political narratives and got away with it.
Hey, it's not as convoluted as how Captain Marvel and Fawcett Comics led to unsolicited opinions about Israel.
Hold
Wait, that's complicated?
Well, no, I said convoluted.
How is that convoluted? Dumb shit has dumb opinion. Dumb shit
No.
uses comic to sell dumb opinion.
No. So, Captain Marvel, Fawcett Comics.
Right.
There was a lawsuit. They went out of business.
Okay.
This enabled Marvel to create their Captain Marvel.
Right.
This also enabled the creation of Miracle Man, which was
Right.
the weird British side project.
Right.
Then Todd McFarlane was trying to stealthily take all of the people who had a piece of the intellectual property of Miracle Man so he could take ownership of it. And then he sued Neil Gaiman, the last owner of the property. Neil Gaiman wanted to see a reprint and finishing of the Miracle Man story. It ended up coming out in court that Todd McFarlane didn't have any legal standing whatsoever, and as part of his penalties for bringing up a frivolous lawsuit, he had to give the ownership of the character of Angela to Neil Gaiman, who gave it to Marvel Comics so that they would produce the Miracle Man stuff he wanted to do, which led to the infamous thing where they went and saw Bor, the father of Odin, or the grandfather of Odin, I forgot which, who made the famous thing of unsolicited opinions about Israel.
Well, all of those things are true.
I stopped listening like 4 minutes ago.
I believe that
So, yeah.
awful comic.
I said it's convoluted.
I believe that awful comic and that awful panel would exist whether Angela was there or not.
Well, I mean, they only made that awful comic to explain how Angela showed up in the Marvel continuity.
Yeah, but somebody would have used that platform to make the unsolicited opinion about Israel commentary in the comic. Somebody would have done that because that was not characterization. That was authorial overreach.
It actually was characterization, but it was stupid characterization.
Stupid characterization, which was also authorial overreach. We're talking about the same grade of bullshit like that X-Men artist who had Colossus wearing pro-terrorist propaganda t-shirt.
Well, that was because they hired an Islamic fundamentalist artist. And that was not the only Islamic extremist stuff that was there.
You know, speaking of Israel, Larry.
Well, hold up. I was going to talk about Superman.
Right.
Oh,
I was going to talk about Superman.
All right, fine.
I mean, let's face it. Superman is both an American and a space Jew, so this is good.
Right. So I've been reading. I have 3 comics in my pull. I have Ultimate Spider-Man. I have the Titan Comics Conan, albeit the Titan Comics Conan is getting stale because slightly refried Elspreg de Camp is kind of getting like, okay, I've seen this and experienced this before. It's not as cool. So I might be dipping out of that one. And Twitless, who's on Twitter and does other things, and Twitless brought up that this Superman was pretty good, and it was a Superman that was just doing basic Superman stories well. Like Lex was in prison, but he wanted to have a change of heart, and he wanted to become friends with Superman, and he gave Superman LexCorp to make the world a better place. And LexCorp became Supercorp. We then learned that Lex Luthor was actually a science hero in the past, but that was all covered up for reasons. And Lex Luthor became a complicated person, yada, yada. Well, in this issue, the last couple of issues, Superman and Lois Lane are going on having some superhero adventures because Lois Lane became Superwoman again. It's been a while since Lois has been Superwoman. I don't ever think those are good ideas, but I'm allowing it because the key plot line is Superman and Superwoman are trying to help Doomsday, who's wanting to, not be the pure spawn of evil. And all of this is building up to the fact...
I'm sorry, Larry. I think you just gave me cancer.
What? Well, hold up.
So Doomsday wants to hold flowers and pet butterflies, and this
No.
requires Superman to give him guidance, while Lois Lane is Superwoman, because I'm certain somebody said, hey, you know what the problem is with Superman and Lois Lane? Not that Lois Lane is a bullshit character, but the fact that Lois Lane and Superman have power disparity. So the only way to make that relationship work is if Lois Lane has superpowers.
Well, that's
Because
not actually
blah
why they're
blah
doing
blah.
it. That's not what they're doing.
I hope the fuck not, but that is
They're
a
basically
interpretation that could
dredging up.
exist.
They're dredging up old comics tropes that they haven't done in a while. It's
That
been a
doesn't
while
make
since
them good.
I'm not saying it does, but it's like, they've only been doing it for a couple things. And Doomsday asked for help because Doomsday came from the future, where he's near the edge of becoming a god, and he says, "Listen, you can help me, or this could go badly."
So,
And
so what you're saying is Cell came back to the past to talk to Goku to learn how to do the Spirit Bomb. Got it.
Yes, that is actually what we're talking about here.
Fuck that comic.
It's goofy, fun comic stuff. It's the sort of thing that it doesn't sound good when you describe it, but when you're reading it, you're like going, okay, this is fun. Also, when Superman and Lois were having superhero adventure dating, they showed a scene of Jimmy and the Silver Banshee, who are dating now, just having a normal Netflix and chill night. But the comic ends with an alien armada that's arrived on Earth and saying, listen, we're the survivors of worlds that Doomsday has destroyed, and we're here to kill that fucker. You either give him to us, or we will annihilate your planet. So again, fun comic, interesting artistic direction. They have Kara in the dumb jacket costume, which I absolutely hate. But Lois gets
no boob window?
No, not that Kara, the other Kara.
Oh.
The one with the smaller boobs.
You can still have a boob window.
I mean, yes, but her character never had the boob window. It was always the other Kara who had the boob window. But again, it's just a fun, basic Superman stories, although Lex's character is now going on a story arc of how he's going to become like a hipster bro who's trying to become a good person. The world thinks he's dead. He's trying to figure out how to not.
Is he going to take 7 shots of ayahuasca and decide to start a religion to save his people?
I mean, yes, that could be a thing that could happen.
I would read that. Lex Luthor going on an ayahuasca journey.
So yeah, that's a comic I read. It's enjoyable, and I recommend it to people.
See, I know the secret of Lex Luthor's turnaround. It's not just that he took 7 shots of ayahuasca and was told by God to make a religion for his people. It's that he watched the theatrical release of Cats and then climbed into a UFO and told the internet about it.
And then he had breakfast that morning. So speaking of Israel.
Okay.
One moment.
Did Israel have breakfast this morning?
All right.
I mean,
that camouflages into your hair.
Oh, wow.
Right?
What? Oh, it's so silky. I want to run my fingers through that yarmulke.
Look at that. You can barely tell he's Jewish. Huh.
And for our follically challenged friends, we didn't forget you. No, we didn't. Meet the skin mulka.
With red on top and Azula.
Not Jewish.
Exactly. That's the idea.
Our next item is for our Arab and Muslim viewers who are worried about the horrific rise of Islamophobia. Say assalamu alaikum to the hijab cam.
So next time some creep tries to grab your hijab, you tell them to smile, because they're on camera.
The hijab cam raises the bar on racists with its built-in video camera hidden in the back for extra security.
Oh no, it's the hijab cam.
I know what I'm getting my Muslim besties for Eid al-Fitr. This.
Wow, let's introduce our last item.
It is a Hanukkah menorah.
on the inside, but on the outside to the rest of the world, it is a non-triggering, universally beloved Christmas tree.
I, Hanu, can't even.
For only $34.98, you and your family won't have to worry about hate-fueled anti-Semitic attacks.
I mean,
this Hanukkah
here's the
season.
thing.
With the menorah or no.
The menorah they had in Jerusalem had a
Season
Christmas
to be
tree in
safe out
front of
there.
it
Order now.
and had a Muslim display behind it. So these aren't good quality jokes.
What's
I,
more,
I thought it was funny.
what's more, the hijab cam is only going to inspire that woman's husband or brother to beat her and ask her, "Why are you on the street without a chaperone?"
No, he'll just say stop resisting.
Right.
No, he will throw acid in her face
Right.
While
to restore his honor.
While saying
It-
stop resisting.
Unless he's from Pakistan, then he'll just set her on fire.
I mean, that is good, but also with Pakistan, don't forget they'll have 10 people gang rape her
Oh wait,
before
I'm
they set her
sorry.
on fire.
I'm
While
sorry. I
while saying
said.
not resist,
I'm sorry.
stop resisting.
I said Pakistan. I meant New York.
I mean, same difference.
Man,
Ayrton.
Vern, you got 2 rim shots tonight. Look at that.
Yeah. Ayrton, if you could pull up that thing I put in the doobly-doo here.
Getting there.
We're going to discuss Marvel Comics' continuous destruction of its own property.
Do
If
you
you
want
zoom-
the image? Do you want the image or
The
the
image.
tweet up?
The image. If you could zoom in on the image.
Just this second, gentlemen. I am not at my machine. I am making some caffeine, so you'll have to tell me
Okay.
what I'm looking at.
So we're
You're
gonna.
looking at stuff that is gay and cringe.
It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panel strip. On the first panel, we have Scott in a shitty costume. Don't you see? Next panel, we have Wolverine bleeding from his nose. Xavier has always manipulated us. Will always manipulate us, all for the sake of the dream. And what has that gotten us? We have a really shitty Gambit picture. Then we have Ilyana Rasputin. Something weird in her eyes. The eye image is really weird. I don't know why her eyes are drawn like that. And what has that gotten us? Now we're free of Xavier's dreams, free to follow our own dreams. So
who's the black chick with homophobia?
What do you mean homophobia?
Where you have 2 different colored eyes?
No, that's heterochromia.
I've heard it both ways.
Mm-hmm. So why is Marvel rejecting racial harmony as one of their core brands? Now, while I don't believe in the X-Men as a racial allegory thing, I believe that is a thing Chris Claremont did, but it's not been a core component to the X-Men for all of their run, and it's not even the most compelling thing Chris Claremont did with the X-Men. But what do you guys think about that?
Well, I think what Thor Odinson over here said, isn't this like the 37th time the story has been done?
Yes. Yes, it has.
Give you a like over there, buddy.
This is at least the 15th time that Scott has been the one who said this.
Which is an odd paradox. The fact that they've made Scott say shit like this so many times, and the fact that it's still out of character for Scott to say.
All right. So there are 2 things, in my opinion. The first is the problem of right clubs. They did it once. Okay.
But I mean, Cyclops wasn't right then.
He wasn't, but people liked that run for some reason because they're apparently mouth-breathing retards.
Well, people who don't buy comics like that run.
To the extent that Marvel keeps trying to catch lightning in the bottle, thinking if we just make Cyclops say the thing, people will buy it. But the people didn't buy it the first time. No one bought it. Right-Clops is wrong. You had an entire arc where you gave him the right out of jail free card by saying you're possessed by the Phoenix so that he didn't have to be responsible for his bullshit takes.
Now, Rune, they could just say it was a residual plant clone memory.
Right. So here's the next thing, though. This is the actual, I think, core thing. Is that because the people writing this do not understand what Xavier's dream is, they're invoking our favorite quotable from the Last Jedi. You have to kill the past if you can. Right?
Well, I mean, they understand what Xavier's dream is. They just don't agree with it.
Right, but here's the thing. They could actually sell this piece of dialogue with as careful a very minor adjustment to the context to make it work. And it's quite simple. Remove the spite. Don't say that Xavier manipulated you. Don't write narratives where Xavier is a manipulative thug, right?
Even though that was supposed to run with X-Men for like 3 years.
Right, that's what they're doing. That's why it doesn't work. It has never worked. We know Xavier's not a bad guy, right?
Yeah, write it more of like a moral existential crisis for Cyclops.
Not even a moral existential
well,
crisis.
if you're gonna go with this, be like, are we doing the right thing? Yada yada yada.
What you do is you say Xavier gave us the dream, but we have to live in this world, right? Or say Xavier gave us a dream, but that's not the only dream, and we can find one for ourselves. Right?
See, that second one sounds almost like something a heroic character would say.
Right, because the idea is that there's nothing wrong with a narrative that says that the X-Men as individuals have outgrown Xavier as a paternal figure, that they have to be adults and go off on their own journey. That's fine. The problem is that while they're doing it, they're also saying, "And you're not my real dad," and that's never gonna work.
Well,
and they keep trying to make Magnus was right. They keep trying to make out like Magneto is somehow correct or is a tool and a component of this positive future. And I hate to tell you, but guys, guess what? Your historical representative, Malcolm X, admitted before he was assassinated that he was wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here's the other fun part. Magneto has admitted he was wrong several times. And then they're like going, psych.
Because the actual answer, no matter how this goes down, is that a mutant polity, a nation mutant state will not work. Okay? The actual answer
it's as dumb as Wakanda.
Right. The actual answer has got to be some kind of collaborative cohesion. No. Because I've always said isolation breeds the unknown, and we all know that the unknown is what you fear. If you isolate yourself from humanity, then humanity cannot acclimate to your fucking existence. Imagine that.
That is core to Xavier's dream.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't kind of the interesting part of Magneto was that he was a Holocaust survivor, yet was like a racial purist?
This is where Larry and I disagree.
I'll be right back to join this argument in a minute. I have to get something to drink.
So let me give my...
Hold on. Like, isn't that what makes him like fairly interesting? Is he survived an attempted genocide to go on to hold those same views?
All right, let me give the clarifying material while Larry is getting his fluids. Now that I have my fluids,
okay,
and then Larry can come back and dissect me. Oh my! Magnus was never a Holocaust survivor because they couldn't say it was the Holocaust. Okay, he was from an unstated East European or European region. There was a war. His people were indeed genocided, right? Like, not mutants.
Okay, Holocaust,
hold up.
Holodomor, Ukraine, it's all the same shit.
No. Right. His wife's people were Holocausted and they were Romani. So it's still the same window.
Right, but the important point here is that after the war, Okay, Magneto was just walking the world like Xavier. They were working together to help survivors. They were doing humanitarian work. Okay,
And then they found a shit ton of Nazi gold.
right. And there was an attempt by remnants of the now fallen enemy government to reassert itself.
They were
That led,
Hydra.
that led to them fighting back and revealing their mutant powers to each other. Okay, where the crux is, okay, is the response to that stimulus. Because Xavier said it's more important now than ever that we use our powers for good to prevent these kinds of evils.
And
Right.
Magneto was like, no, I'm not having this happen again. I'm gonna fucking murk some people.
Right. Magneto said, no, we have to use our powers to fight back because they will always exploit us. And over time, that became a perspective of mutant racial superiority. He became more extremist over time.
That's
As you'd
something
expect.
the X-Men First Class era of X-Men movies expressed very well.
Right. Those
Yeah.
movies actually weren't bad.
But my point is, doesn't that make him more interesting, though?
Yes.
Well, here's the thing. It doesn't make him more interesting because it makes him right, which is what Marvel has been perpetually fucking up. Right?
It makes him more interesting because it's complicated. It gives you something as the reader to think about.
It makes him more interesting because it makes him tragic. I'm going to refer to a very famous run. Okay? There's a run of X-Men called Man Kills, God Forgives.
Yes.
Or I have that name backwards. Okay? And one of the most famous panels is Magnus finding the bodies of a pair of mutants that have been crucified on an X bar because it's a stand-in for a cross that they couldn't use a cross in a comic. Right? It's also the X gene and a bunch of other bullshit. Right? And so you have this scene where a person who is an objective villain that wants to put us in camps for our own good, right, is racked with the tangible tragedy of seeing innocent people, mutants, murdered by fearful, hateful humans. You can understand where he's coming from and almost how he's right. But it's supposed to be the contrast that defines why Xavier's dream is so special and important. That we need to come together as a people so we can leave behind these kinds of tragedies, or they'll just happen again. We'll just make more Magnetos. Right? And more Graydon Creeds.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing.
It's not. But these people, they don't see that. They need to be, quite literally, because the dream of Martin Luther King was not tangible, because it hasn't manifested in the years since his murder, right? We've decided, well, it was impossible. We were sold a false bill of sale.
I mean, it kind of did in the 90s, but
it kind of did well before then, but then people didn't like the realization that once you solve the problem of tangible racism, I'm not even saying it was solved, I'm saying a lot of the institutional racism was mitigated, right? You no longer have special person status.
Yeah.
We live in the era of people desperately trying to establish their bona fides for privilege. They want privileges by being oppressed, even when they're not.
Also, there are lots of folks who are making money off of the status as being outcast.
And here's the thing, I'm going to go extra deep. This is not new. Okay, and I don't mean 1960s new. I mean early 1920s post-Civil War not new.
Yep.
Okay? So, everybody knows Frederick Douglass. All right? And Frederick Douglass is one of the most interesting figures in my collective mythology and history of Americana, right? But in the early 20th century, post-war, I want to say post-World War I, there was a division, there was a schism in the Afro-American community.
It was the great debate with George Washington Carver and W.E.B. Du Bois.
Right.
who was a communist, a Stalin supporter, and a Hitler supporter.
Right. One side of this had its own political ideology and basically was exploiting ignorant Afro-Americans to rally as a aggressive
A revolutionary
revolutionary
vanguard.
force. Right. The other half was trying to postulate this magical thing called the new Negro, which I always thought was awful language, but time period. And it was this idea that now that we free, we don't need to be what other people have defined us as. We can be the equal and the cooperative component to the society of the whites around us.
If only they
So
still tried to do that.
this is actually interesting because you don't quite have the division of the argument, right?
No, I know I've got it wrong, but I'm at least saying that it's
So
existed for decades and decades and decades.
so Du Bois was arguing we need full and total and complete equity now and equality. And George Washington Carver saying, we need to build up our people. We need to give them job skills. We need to give them the ability to function in this society where they're going to engage with white people. And the rest will come from there.
Right.
But if you can pull up the second one there, this is one that Rune, when he saw it, he was very interested because he has relevant personal knowledge in this.
I do actually.
I'm going to read the text for our people who may be watching this later.
I'll let you set this up.
I think companies switching over to Unreal from in-house engines should have clued us into why. The drive for excellence is completely gone and the default is the norm. I think of how amazing Arkham Knight still looks today, and only recently I learned it ran on a heavily tweaked Unreal Engine 3. That's why PC was borked out of the gate and the Switch port was such a pain in the ass to optimize it. Indeed, Source Engine 1 is well past 20 years old at this point, and yet fans of both Source SFM and Gmod continue to find hacks and tricks to get every last drop out of the fossil. I should know I'm one of them. I have heard somewhere of a crop of devs entering the industry only knowing how to use Unreal. If any useful experience exists, it's cheaper to use a base standard for bloated workforce than to dare excel at anything, while the indie market, and the exception to the rule that the media despise, will continue to eat their lunch. Dragging in blah 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 blahs asked somebody who made Saber Games Space Marines 2 assets while using the same framework as Halo CE Anniversary to make it. So basically, they used a Space Marines game and they just drug assets in from Halo to make it cheap. Meanwhile, Wukong and Stellar Blade, both made out of Korea, its mastery of Unreal Engine 5 shows that the international devs still retain the spark for excellence lost in the Western studios. Expect the same bog standard graphics of SSKTGAL and Veilguard in Witcher 4, as well as most of the games that continue to come into the pipeline at the moment. And this Grums, who's an experienced game developer, this all comes from him saying, the majority of cost and time in AAA games is the art team. It used to be the programmers were the critical path, but now it's the art production time. Art limits how much content a game can have. We need to fundamentally review our approach to create art for games. And the complaint is cutting-edge graphics cost too much to make. So Rune works for an indie game studio.
Yep. Now, we had some internal problems. We had to cut staff. I won't say how or why, but basically my portion of the dealing with Unreal diminished. I became far more invested in writing pseudocode and working on some other projects that favor more my literary skills than
by the way, if you need a composer.
Oh no, I've mentioned before. It's like if we get to music, I know a guy. But that is I hate to say it, that is a long way off. Either way, the thing is that my boss took a interesting tact. So he wants to get us paid. He wants to get us full pay. Okay? But obviously he needs investors. So what we're working on is we're basically building an alpha or a beta. We're building up to having something to show good enough that if we show it to investors, they'll go, yeah, we'll fund this, and then get to be paid our actual value on a team, right? But a component of that was, okay, I need everyone to learn Unreal. And it wasn't just, I need everyone to learn Unreal because we're lazy. It wasn't just, I need everyone to learn Unreal because that's the industry standard. It was, we need people to learn how to use this tool, because in this market, the more diversified your skill set, the more valuable you are as a potential employee, and eventually you're not going to work for me. I would like it if it would work for me, but at the same time, we're going to have lots of projects. There's going to be lots of things. It may be such a way that maybe one day I can't afford you, or I don't need you, or I'm working on something else and I'm not going to be making a game, and you're going to have to find labor somewhere else. You know, it happened. So I had to learn some Unreal, and it's a struggle for me. Programming is very hard for me, right? But Unreal is a toolbox, and if you are intelligent with it and practical with it, you can do some things, right? It is not a waste of time to learn Unreal. The basic argument that Unreal is somehow the problem is not the problem. The problem is, in my interpretation, not only what Drums is saying, that art design is and visual budgets are way bloated because the quest for realism is a bad day, right? Gameplay should be your primary, patron saint. Content good, make the content meaningful, but also that more and more of the creative people are either specializing, and they shouldn't, they should be generalizing, or they are not familiar with how things work under the hood, right? We've been working at it, practicing in our given areas to figure out how things work. Even though I don't do the programming, right? I have looked at the spaghetti, I have talked to the people about the spaghetti, I've asked, how does that spaghetti work, right? Because I need to be conversant enough to be able to talk to the programmers about what I want and how it functions. That's
And
why
the
I learned
program
code.
and Joe needs to be able to say, "Listen, I need the spaghetti to do that," and the programmer can't turn around to Joe and say, "What are you talking about? The spaghetti can't do that. Even if we had the latest version of the spaghetti, it couldn't do that."
Right. I need to be able to say, I need the spaghetti to do this. I don't care how it gets done. Can you make it happen? And when they say, can you clarify how the spaghetti is supposed to do that? I say, here's my pseudocode.
Sorry, real quick. Am I coming through?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I had a thing pop up
But-
that StreamYard lost connection to my mic. I just wanted to make sure.
But what I'm ultimately getting at is that what the implication of this commentary is that there are people who are picking up the tool because of its ease of use, and then assuming the journey stops there. And it doesn't. Just like working with Photoshop, it requires study. It's active scholarship. And if your argument is that there's a lack of scholarship in AAA gaming, I suspect that is true. But it's not Unreal's fault. Unreal is not at fault for putting tools in the hands of more people.
Well, no, that's not the complaint. The complaint is people are being lazy with Unreal Engine.
Right, but that's because people are being lazy, and I think that's probably part of a wider conversation about a lot of subjects that we're not going to talk about on this show, because I hope to God we're not going to talk about them on this show. I don't want to talk about work visas and Indians. I really don't.
Well, no, that was not one of the topics I was going to talk about.
Good.
He was going to talk about this.
The work visas and the Indians are actually part of something that's a little bit more broad, but
Casual viewing. Why Netflix looks like that.
so Netflix is inventing a new genre of things. Until recently, no Hollywood studio have ever released two movies with the exact same name at the exact same time. At most studios, such a strategy would be unthinkable. audiences might accidentally buy tickets to the wrong film, and the PR fallout would be disastrous. Snipes from the trade magazine's writers, angry calls from investors questioning the studio's business acumen, angry call from agents demanding why their clients' images were being intentionally sabotaged. Netflix, however, is not most studios. On April Fool's Day 2022, the company released a Judd Apatow comedy titled The Bubble, which takes place on the set of a Hollywood dinosaur franchise that's forced to quarantine in the middle of COVID-19 pandemic. 4 weeks later, it released an animated film by Tetsuo Araki, the director of the popular Japanese anime shows Death Note and Attack on Titan, about a post-apocalyptic world in which the law of gravity ceases to exist. Araki's film was also called Bubble. There were no box office mix-ups, no snipes from the press, no angry calls. The few critics who bothered to write about it painted Apatow's Bubble, an unfunny comedy that's duller than the blockbuster franchises it makes fun of. Nobody had anything to say about Araki's Bubble, a TV movie better suited to the graveyard slot on a children's cable network. Like all Netflix movies, Bubble and The Bubble floated away quickly as they appeared because the titles in the company's sprawling mosaic of content destined to be autoplayed on laptops whose owners have fallen asleep. For years, Ted Sarandos, the Netflix co-CEO, has pioneered the distribution strategy that has been hailed by the press as visionary. Even after streaming giants faltered in 2022, recording an overall loss of subscribers for the first time in a decade, the podcasting impresario Scott Galloway raced to Sandros' defense in a New York Times, comparing him and Netflix co-founders Reed Hastings to A-Rod and Barry Bonds. That's a bad analogy you're making for yourself there, buddy. You don't want to bet against these guys.
Did they both do a lot of drugs?
They were on the gear. They were on a lot of gear. Apparently, forgotten the baseball players both had tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. See,
I should just run ahead.
Yeah, exactly. At the height of their careers. This way, the comparison was more accurate than he intended. Netflix is a steroidal company pumped up by lies and deceit. It has broken all of Hollywood's rules. For a century of the business of running Hollywood studios was straightforward. The more people watched the films, the more money the studio made. With Netflix, however, audiences don't pay for the individual films. They pay a subscription to watch everything. And this has enabled a strange phenomenon to take root. Netflix's movies don't have to abide by any of the norms established over the history of cinema. They don't have to be profitable, pretty, sexy, intelligent, funny, well-made, or anything else that pulls audiences into theater seats. Netflix audiences watch from their homes, on their couches, in their bed, on public transportation, and on toilets. Often, they aren't even watching. This is the key part of the article. Over the past decade, Netflix, which first emerged as a destroyer of video stores, has developed a powerful business model to conquer television, only to unleash its strange and destructive power on cinema. In doing so, it has brought Hollywood to the brink of irrelevance because Netflix doesn't just survive when no one is watching, it thrives. As Reed Hastings tells it, Netflix's eureka moment came in 1997 when he rented a VHS of Apollo 13 from Blockbuster Video. I remember doing that. Some weeks later, he discovered the tape under a pile of papers in his dining room. He had forgotten to return it. When he did return it, Hastings was shocked to learn that he owed $40 in late fees, i.e., more than the VHS tape was worth. It felt so stupid, he later said of the experience. I was embarrassed about it. Hastings wasn't alone. In the 90s, Blockbuster was reviled by its customers. As journalist Gina Hastings found in her 2012 history of Netflix, Blockbuster's own research showed that customers usually had to visit their stores for 5 weekends in a row to get what they wanted. I have never had that experience.
I never had that experience.
Stores were overstocked with movies that no one cared about, and employees that left empty VHS boxes on shelves, giving the appearance that the store's inventory was larger than it actually was. That's incorrect. Worst of all, there were late fees. A late return often tripled the price of a Blockbuster rental, and a lost tape could set you back as much as $200. I actually had lost tapes with Blockbuster. It did not cost me $200. The system was widely despised. Customers filed 23 separate class action lawsuits against Blockbuster over unfair late charges.
Can I comment on the real problem here?
Mm-hmm.
These people went to fucking Blockbuster!
Well, hold up. No. We're talking the past.
Let me explain. Back when Blockbuster was a thing, okay, among Blockbuster's various metrics was Blockbuster had a pro-Christian, anti-paganism policy, much like Hobby Lobby, right? And my mom did not approve, being that she was pagan. So we didn't go to Blockbuster. We also didn't believe in paying for that membership because, damn, right? So we went to other video stores and got our videos and had a wonderful time. When we got Netflix, we appreciated Netflix because they still sent physical discs to your house, right? And as a mail service, it was great. The digital transition was a different thing. But you know what happened to us when they were still sending discs? We had one error. And I know what error it was because it was both funny and sad. For my birthday, my folks ordered Pirates of the Caribbean. Because I was
got
really
Pirates?
excited for Pirates of the Caribbean. I got Pirates of the Caribbean's DVD extras disc and not the movie.
I mean, that's interesting.
No, that was funny at the time. It was also sad at the time because it's like, okay, Joe, we're gonna watch your birthday movie. I'm like, oh wow, what is it? What the fuck is this?
We're gonna watch the makings of a movie you haven't seen yet.
Right?
For some reason, I don't know why, but that just fits. That just fits your lore.
Right?
Mhm.
But that's what I'm getting at is not only are these people talking about, oh well, Blockbuster was a horrible thing that Netflix was able to profit through deceit and lies. It's like, no, neither of these companies were ever good, but Blockbuster was pronouncedly worse. Back in the early days of Netflix, they actually provided a service of value. Okay, and further, I'm gonna let you get back to describing this, but I want to just throw this out there. The reason Netflix is garbage now is because of the streaming wars. Because once Netflix proved that the streaming model was profitable, right? All the people that had made licensing deals to let Netflix, send out their movies and stream their movies, pulled their content for their own competing streaming services that proportionally sucked. Which is why streaming is now turning back into cable, because they went, why can't we make money at this? Because no one's going to pay for 6 different streaming services to have the freedom to watch what they want to watch. Everybody wants to pay one service for all the things, you dense motherfuckers.
Well, hold up. Now,
Or not pay
now
anything for all the services.
I'm
True.
I'm zooming down to the key piece of the article. That's why it came to my attention. Reaching 72 million households didn't mean what it sounded like it meant. What it actually meant was that there were 72 million accounts watched at least 2 minutes of the old guard, according to Netflix.
Wait, where are you in this article?
It's towards the bottom. According to Netflix, 2 minutes was long enough to indicate that the choice was intentional, even though Netflix designed its viewing experience to be totally unintentional. An essential part of Netflix's platform is its autoplay feature, which launches users into the next episode of a television system or an algorithmically chosen movie seconds after the program.
I can't find where you're at, so I'm just gonna linger on this quote.
I just also want to say real quick, none of this is true for me. I don't watch shit on Netflix and then go to sleep and then just let it run. Okay? If I'm watching something on Netflix, it's what I fucking wanted to watch. I canceled my Netflix because it's too fucking expensive. But
hold up. In 2023, in response to the industry pressure and as a flex against other less successful streaming platforms, the company began releasing its biannual report that contained the total number of views for each of its 18,000 plus titles over the previous 6 months. On a conference call with reporters, Sanders claimed this was the most transparent representation of its data ever shown to the public. Netflix views might look impressive on paper. Even Sweet Girl, the TNM starring Jason Momoa, is a vengeance-seeking survivalist whose MMA-trained daughter take up his cause, was viewed 6.7 million times in the first half of 2024. But the figures remain a sham. To get to 6.7 million, Netflix first tallies the film's viewing hours, the total amount of time that users have spent streaming the movie. Here, Netflix makes no distinction between users who watch Sweet Girl all the way through and those who watch less than 2 minutes, and those who just watch a few seconds thanks to autoplay, skip around, or watch at 1.5 times speed. All this distracted piecemeal activities rolled into Sweet Girl's total viewing hours, 12.3 million as of last count, which the company then divides by the program's runtime, 110 minutes or 1.83 hours, to produce those 6.7 million views. According to Netflix's rubrics, 2 users who watch the first half of Sweet Girl and close their laptops equal 1 full view, as do 110 users who each watch a single minute. Such sleight of hand would be illegal in any other industry. Ford could never tell its shareholders that it sold 200,000 F-150 trucks over a single quarter, when in truth the company sold 100,000 F-150s to a married couple who co-owned their vehicle. But for Netflix, a movie is an accounting trick, a tranche of pixels that allows the company to release increasingly fantastical statements about its viewership, such as the absurd notion that Leave the World Behind, a dubious Julia Roberts apocalypse movie produced by Barack and Michelle Obama, was viewed 121 million times. How could anyone believe that? There's a movie on Paramount Plus right now called On the Come Up. A Hollywood producer told me in 2022. I'm sure you haven't heard about it because you don't hear about any of these movies. It's about a black female rapper in Chicago and her journey in the rap battling. I actually watched this movie.
I have heard about this movie.
It's like Black Female 8 Mile. It's not a great movie, but in another era, it would have been a crowd pleaser.
But what about Asferatu?
Thank you. That is nice.
They could cross over and play a few hundred screens, like Set It Off or Down the Delta, when the film was by a major poet and her director, Alda Pugh, with Wesley Snipes as the movie comfortably played on 400 to 500 screens, a smallish medium release from Miramax in 1998. What has happened to the movie is that it has become on the come up, which just disappeared into either of the studios put up 2 billboards in LA because they know creators live in LA and want some sort of vision that they are being marketed like Amazon. If you drive through Culver City, you'll see billboards for Amazon movies everywhere. Why? Because the directors who come to the studio a lot to take a meeting, there to make a movie, they drive there and they're like, oh hey, they're making my movie. But they're not. Last winter visiting Los Angeles, I went to see the signage for myself encircling the intersection of Dulles and La Cienega Boulevards, where 8 towering billboards promoting the latest Amazon original movies and shows to advertise The Burial, illegal dramas.
I'm sorry, not to be a colossal dick, but what's the fucking point of this article?
The point of this article
is way too long-winded.
The point of this article is the streaming services are finding ways to make their product of movies and television even more fake and gay. They've created No. They're creating a genre of Netflix product that are made to be played in the background and not watched.
That's what you do when you put on a show that you've watched 1,000 times. You want noise in the background.
Right. But what they're doing is they're making something that you haven't watched that you turn on when you want noise in the background.
Okay, and
the point is that they're making money by being fake and gay.
Okay. I mean, you're already paying for the subscription, right? And if just some random bullshit plays in the background and you don't really care about it, and it's just background noise, then who cares?
No.
Why? Hold on. Why did this writer write such a fucking long-winded article to say this bullshit?
Here's what Larry's getting at. All right. What he's saying is that Netflix is making trash, because of course they are. So that you will start a film, get busy doing something else, let it run, and then counting those unintended views as views to bolster numbers. And it is indeed bullshit.
And those numbers will hold up. And those numbers will be presented to investors.
As success.
And then those investors will in turn give Netflix more money to make more garbage.
Here is my contention, however. This is not new. This is not a reinvention. This is not a Netflix evil. Because you've already said the answer, Ayrton. My parents, for a short window, were a Nielsen family. Okay? And how the Nielsen ratings are determined is you're an old person and they send you a box.
Yeah.
Okay? You attach the box to the TV, or you have your son do it for you because you don't know how TVs work.
In some of the cable boxes now actually have Nielsen type setups.
and it tracks your viewing habits so they can determine what's selling and what's not. Okay? Television has always banked on you put something on and stop paying attention to it. That's the model for Cartoon Network now, with its 4-hour cartoon blocks of the same garbage you saw at 8 o'clock this morning.
By the
Because
way,
4 hours, followed by 4 hours, followed by 4 hours, and then you get to Adult Swim.
the streaming services do another layer to that, though. They have access to the camera from your computer, if you're watching on your computer, or your phone. So they
Right.
can actually see where your eyes are when the trash is being streamed.
Which
So
is
they
in
know
fact-
for a fact if you're watching it or if you just need dumb noise in the background.
which is a bigger bad, because that's invasion of privacy, and we should totally talk about that.
It's in your terms of service that you agree to that.
Right. What I'm getting at, though, is that this article says in many, many words, "Oh no, Netflix is doing that thing everybody was already doing, stars and garters." They have always.
I don't know. This
been-
article just seems like a nothing burger and a waste of time. Like
I'm
it's
just saying-
it's just
I'm just saying the metrics have always been fake and gay. Saying that people
they're
are
even-
faking gay metrics is not shocking.
Right, but the fact is that is now the business strategy, is to be faker and gayer than ever before.
yeah,
Right,
I don't
and
know.
that's why this is a matter for our show, is
can-
that we are experts in both the fakery and the gayery.
I don't know. This seems extra fake and gay. Can we go into an interesting conversation that we inadvertently started earlier today?
Which
What's
was,
the interesting conversation?
If Larry, if you want to pull up that image.
Oh,
What?
speaking of fake and gay,
oh yes, no, this is great. Okay, so since Church is not here, I'm going to lay the ground rules. I've had some time to think about this after talking
Okay.
with my friend
Well,
Ty.
hold on. So we're gonna lay out what is the main
Right,
imbibing
right,
substance of each lantern core.
right. What?
well, first of all, I'm diametrically opposed to the
wait.
Care Bear cousin lanterns.
Oh no, absolutely, absolutely. But we're gonna go with it anyway. So the thing is, okay. Ayrton put out the qualifier. I think it's a pertinent qualifier, so we're gonna use it based on the emotional spectrum, not just the color. Okay, because for instance, I would not
Well, I
give.
mean, death isn't an emotion.
Doesn't matter. Okay, I'm just saying, like, I would not give Fear lemonade, even though it's yellow, because lemonade is delicious.
Right.
Fuck that. Okay, based on the spectrum, what drink or fluid, as presumably a fluid you can imbibe, are the Care Bear lanterns? And I mean, yeah, let's start with left to right. So let's start with Fear. What is yellow?
Okay, so it's called what I think it's called tongue skull. So it's a let's see, is a pre-modern traditional Korean medicinal wine made from the feces of. Hold on, made from the.
Is some of your argument the reason it's this is because it's hard to say?
No, yes, but it's spelled TTONGSUL. Tongue. Anyways, so it is a medicinal wine made from the feces of children. The feces is soaked, crushed, and made into a paste that is fermented. It is strained, mixed with rice, and then left to rest. The mixture is then distilled to produce a wine.
Rune. If you're gonna react like this, I'm gonna have to find this one YouTuber who went on a power trip through Southeast Asia and ate all of the foods that are made out of poop.
Listen,
in Southeast Asia.
Listen, Rune, my argument is this is the most terrifying thing to drink: fermented child rice shit. That is terrifying.
Wow. Okay. I mean, okay.
Give me something that is more terrifying to drink, and I will concede.
No, that is fucking right up there. That is specialist knowledge. Damn. Cause see, I had seen a film. I liked it. Roger Ebert hated it. Roger Ebert was a fucking cuck. Called the whole not the whole 9 yards. The Bucket List. Right. And in
Bucket List was an interesting movie.
Well, to be fair to Roger Ebert, he didn't like it because he was dealing with cancer, and did not appreciate the fact that the film is an unbelievable journey about people with cancer who don't suffer cancer. It wasn't real enough for the guy who actually has cancer. But
So Boogie 2988.
But the
Yeah.
thing is that
Okay.
the thing is that really, it's a movie to entertain people in seats, man. That's all it is. It's Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman go on old man adventures.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
that's
bros
like
going on old man adventures. It's a good time.
But in that film, one of the principal jokes is a coffee called Cappy Luwak that is made from cat shit.
Monkeys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
monkeys,
made from the Capuchin monkeys.
yeah, monkeys
Yeah.
eat the beans and they shit them out whole, and
Yeah,
then they roast them and
right.
grind them.
Right.
But that's less terrifying to drink than
No, that's the thing.
fermented
That's the thing.
child
That's
shit
That's the thing.
wine.
That is less terrifying. I was gonna make a joke that, if we expanded this out to be what drinks do superheroes drink, I would say that Batman drinks orphan tears. But it's like, no, this is the worst thing I can imagine. Holy shit! Especially
I mean, the
because
worst
now-
thing.
Especially because we're talking about Southeast Asia, so it's like it's not just the mental image of we're going to harvest the shit of children, ferment it, and mix it with rice to make a drink, right? But like now it's industrial. There is a warehouse where they feed children stuff to make them shit.
Hold up. Do you not know about the food that they make in the Philippines? That's just recycled garbage.
I did not.
There is a snack food delicacy that's a popular street food in the Philippines that's made out of garbage from other fast food restaurants that are put into a cocktail of syrups and MSGs and then served to people on the street.
Hey, MSG stands for make shit good. So
Look, all I'm gonna say is that I have a list of countries I will not travel to. Many of them are in the subcontinent in Southeast Asia.
There's also a food in Southeast Asia that's a soup made out of blood.
there's
Now, see,
also
That's not so bad.
there's also
Well, no,
there's
they-
also boiled like half developed baby duck eggs.
Oh, balut.
Gross.
Yeah.
Balut is it is pretty horrifying because it's also crunchy.
Yeah. But
So-
anyways, so life. What do you guys
Right.
think? I already have my answer, but
White lightning.
that's actually not too far off to what I was going to say.
Well, I was gonna say, would it not be one of the alcohols that is described as being life, or wouldn't it just be like a wine?
Well,
Uh,
I mean, all
I-
alcohol is described
Well-
as being life. It's the water
well,
of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it would be Irish whiskey, particularly because
Yeah.
the Irish word for whiskey translates to life water.
Yeah, that's what
me
I was getting at.
But that's why I picked white lightning.
That's fair.
Okay. So for Violet, I told my friend Ty that they clearly are just a profusion of pink girly drinks. Because
Or
Violet is party girls.
or what if it's liquid MDMA?
Ooh, that's a good one. I
'Cause
think
if you wanna- if you wanna feel
you-
love-
yeah, you win that one. Yeah.
It's
No,
just pure DMT.
no, no, it's MDMA just
so-
like mixed in water.
So I stand by my argument, even though, again, this is not about color. This is about the resonance. That the Red Lanterns drink blood, because the Red Lanterns are edgy bullshit and always have been, and are diet cornates from 40K. They just want to be corn worshippers who vomit blood, and they're not good enough to actually worship corn.
So
So
no,
they drink blood.
My
no,
counter argument is it's tequila with red food coloring.
no. Well, my
Wow,
counter-
that is the bitchiest drink.
No, my counter is it's cheap vodka with grenadine.
No, that actually sounds like a drink someone should have.
Doesn't grenadine come out orange?
No, no, grenadine's red.
It's been a while since I played with that.
No, grenadine's definitely red, and it looks kind of like blood when you pour it into a clear liquid.
Well-
and cheap vodka,
Well, I'm
because
gonna
cheap vodka makes you want to punch shit.
well, I'm gonna throw out there just for clarity, just to round it out. If I must choose a drink that is not blood, wouldn't it just be the plain ass Bloody Mary?
That's not an angry drink.
Right, but it is a lame drink, and I think the Red Lantern is lame.
Well, that's why I said
No,
cheap vodka
no,
with grenadine, because that's a
Now,
lame drink.
now a counter, you could have chelada, the breakfast of ex-champions from Mexico. Are you familiar with chelada?
I am not.
It's a mixture of oyster water,
Oh.
Bloody Mary mix, and Budweiser.
Why
Yeah.
the fuck would you do that to your
It's-
body?
Dude, you can buy it canned, Rune.
It is extremely popular in Latino communities.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's it.
Larry is owning face tonight. Yeah.
Chelada's it.
All right. Now,
Green.
now my original joke for Green was that they just drank absinthe. They were just chasing the fairy.
No, but that's not willpower.
Yeah, that's not willpower.
So hold on. Here's my take on that. It's cheap black gas station coffee because they're
No.
space cops and cops are
No.
gay.
No.
And
No.
black gas station coffee is terrible.
You mentioned this elsewhere earlier, but I'm gonna posit this. I'm gonna assert that Green is Everclear.
I'm gonna give you a better one.
Well, the reason I say Everclear is because my mom was a fan of, I want to say, Brad Paisley.
Hmm.
Okay, and there's a song about Everclear, and one of the part of the stanza is, when I'm drinking Everclear, I think I'm king of this whole world. I'm bigger and badder than Johnny Cash and meaner than Steve Earle. So
Okay, actually, I might give you Everclear because
Well, hold
Everclear
on.
does make you want to beat your wife,
Hold on.
which also fits for a cop. So
Well, hold on. My offer is 8 ounces of Midori straight.
oh,
You need absolute willpower to be able to drink that.
I don't know what it is, but that sounds believable.
Watermelon liqueur.
Oh
It's
god.
green watermelon liqueur.
what?
Oh god.
What about Malort?
Oh, Malort's an even better one. You need willpower to be able to power through Malort.
You need willpower to open a bottle of Malort.
I mean, if we want to talk about green alcohol that will kill you, we could just go with Ouzo.
Ouzo's clear.
Yeah, Ouzo's clear.
I thought it was green. I thought it came in a little green glass.
No, so Rune, all spirits are clear unless you age them in something.
Right.
Yes.
That's why whiskey is brown, is because it's aged in barrels.
But still, Ouzo comes in, I want to say, less than a shot glass, because it is so fucking potent per drink, and you should not drink more than one of it.
Now,
the
Turkish cousin of Ouzo would have been a good White Lantern candidate.
So the late great comedian Sean Locke, he was a British comedian. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He referred to Ouzo as a bastard in a glass. So
Ouzo is something that the Greeks used to cut their Turkish coffee with.
Right. Tells you everything you need to know about the ancient Greeks.
But yes, no, I think Malort is the winner for the green square.
Okay. Now, I have no idea for compassion. I am not. My drink lore is weak.
Oh, jasmine tea. They're a bunch of stupid, ridiculous hippies.
It's just the softest hippie shit.
Yeah.
This is
jasmine tea isn't even really soft.
I want to point out this conversation is your fault, Ayrton.
I know.
Because I showed my friend Ty that Green Lantern bong you found. And that got us onto, well, what would they imbibe? What drugs? And drugs segued into drinks because drinks were easier to clarify.
Yeah.
Because I said that the purple lanterns would be the hippies that would just do weed. They would just smoke a bowl and be like very mellow.
Yeah, no, Larry nailed it on the head with
Right.
MDMA.
Now, I'm
But-
gonna posit what orange is if we're ready to move on to orange. But people already disagree with me on this.
Okay.
I posit because Larfleeze is the only orange lantern, and orange lantern is greed, that it's motherfucking Tang.
I can get behind that.
They just drink the orange space juice.
But it's solely just because it matches.
Right.
Like, it has nothing to do with the actual, like, emotional spectrum. It's just because it matches.
Well, also because Larfleeze is greedy, so it's just like whatever's cheap, whatever I can get a lot of. I want all of it. I'm just gonna drink all this fucking Tang, and you can't stop me.
Yeah,
no.
no, I can go with that.
So my candidate for black, I need Eric to pull up the video. So that my candidate for black needs to have a musical presentation.
Folks like coffee, real coffee from the hills of Colombia. The Dunkin' Hills over you. From a dozen deaths, a cup of blood. We're dying for a cup. What about a life? Ethiopia. Friends are lost. You're dying for a cup. Gonna get some now and scream for the cream.
That's my nominee for Black Lantern.
No notes. No notes. I was gonna try and not do the obvious thing. I was gonna be like, maybe Black Russian, maybe something else, maybe something that makes you black out. But it's like, no, black metal coffee wins in jokes.
Well, what about the Panera energy tea shit that a bunch of people are dying from drinking too much of?
No, because that tastes nasty.
I mean,
yeah, but it actually killed people.
I mean, Larry, Blackest Night tasted nasty to read.
Yes, but black metal coffee is a much cooler one.
I mean, that's fair.
Cool.
I don't have a good argument against it. I'm just saying.
And what's the last one?
Hope.
Blue. Hope. What is the alcohol that gives you hope? The one that many a young man has drunk perchance to meet women.
I'm going with tequila.
I can allow it.
Just a straight shot of tequila.
Now, didn't we say that there was another one that was also tequila? So, like, doesn't tequila show up twice on this?
No, I thought about tequila for rage because that's the totality of tequila. It's hope and rage.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's just that these two things have a relationship, but you're saying that tequila, in a good place, is just hope.
Well, yeah, because you're hoping to get laid.
Right.
When you're giving her shots of tequila, but then she just gets drunk and falls asleep.
So
and then you get angry.
So you start drinking tequila, and then you start drinking the Red Lantern. Got it?
Yeah, yeah. It goes from one. It's a nice smooth transition from hope to rage. I would say,
unless your tequila has MDMA in it, then you're drinking the Violent Lantern.
Well, now, I gotta say, that just turns into like some weird S&M shit where you're like in a dungeon with chains tied around your nuts.
I mean, unless the both of you are in the desert drinking Abahuesca instead, you know.
All I gotta say is we talked about ayahuasca, we talked about drinks. We talked about the dream of Xavier. Man, Church missed a great show.
He really did.
He did. But
also, I made Ayrton's brain explode.
You did.
I'm definitely getting you back. I'm gonna try and set up that stream for New Year's Day.
All right. So before we disperse, because this is the last show of the year, I'm gonna ask the dangerous question. Ayrton.
Yeah.
Do you have any food stuff put aside that you've been holding on to that you want to torture me with before the end of the year? The last food stuff of the year?
Actually,
Yeah,
let's see.
We can run over.
Yeah, we can go over.
That's what I'm
Whatever.
saying. Just a little bit. Just a few. Personally, I
Um,
think Church should be proud of us. We actually had a show and we're like intelligent adults. It wasn't just kids running around.
I blame Larry for that. It's his fault that I
Oh.
had to actually talk
Mm.
intelligently.
Well, no, I mean it's also we actually had some interesting subjects of value today.
Yeah. And I will complain to Odin next time I talk to him that he's not giving me a successful YouTube channel. And I'll say, look, Rune's a good boy. Rune likes you. He's not got a successful YouTube channel either, and I'm with Rune. That you're clearly not delivering for me here.
All right, I'll get some more DMT and I'll see if I can find Odin up in the DMT realm. I'll ask the Clockwork Elves when I get up there. Be like, hey.
Well, no. The Clockwork Elves are in Alfheim. If you get to the Clockwork Elves, you've gone too far.
No, but it's a whole realm. You see, that's what I said. Like during the experiment where they're doing the intravenous DMT, they're mapping the realm.
Right.
Is
what I'm saying is you're on the wrong part of Yggdrasil if you see the Clockwork Elves.
Is that what we're going to call it? We're not for the NSA listening. We're not talking about doing ayahuasca. We're talking about mapping the realm.
No, that's exactly. I'm 100% legitimate.
No. Alex Jones talked about this. You see, the deep state actually uses Alex Jones to reveal secrets to the general public.
and
I'm not.
And anyone who's done these compounds already knew this. He's not revealing anything.
Well, no. He specifically talked about how NASA has a program doing this, where they actually have NASA astronauts that they're pumping full of DMT.
No, it's the Royal College of London, and there's a facility in Colorado that's
NASA's been doing it since the 90s.
No, but I'm saying the particular program I'm talking about is administered by those two, and they're so those programs are actually like doing brain scans and stuff like that, looking at the therapeutic effects of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the participants themselves have separated and have started doing this mapping and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Outside of the official study, and they call themselves psychonauts.
Yes. But no, NASA's doing this as well.
That's it. It's something separate, but in line with what NASA's been doing.
Is that bleach in a freezer?
Something fake but gay.
Anyways, yeah. So here
is that bleach in the freezer?
That's going to be the least of your worries, buddy.
I was today years old when I realized you don't have to use water when you make ramen noodles. Chocolate milk honestly makes it taste so much better and not as watered down. I was today years old when I realized.
I already hate ramen. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I mean, is she wrong? It's not as watered down.
She is wrong because she's having ramen. We'll start there.
No. You can actually make good ramen noodles, but you have to make it like the ramen noodle places do.
Yeah,
what you do to make good ramen noodles is you make chicken or pork or eggs to go with your noodles. You put in some veggies.
Do you guys know why pork is the best meat? Because it's halal and not kosher. It's so good that God said you can't eat it.
Very good, very good. And on that note, good night, everybody.
Oh, I had one more.
Oh, one more? Okay. I mean, this is so visually intriguing. Yes, I'll allow it.
What? No.
What?
No.
What?
No. Fuck.
Good night,
everybody.